The sea was quiet that morning, the kind of quiet that carried a heartbeat beneath the waves. Eli sat by the wooden rail of the small seaside cafe, a steaming cup of black coffee between his hands. The smell of salt, driftwood, and roasted beans mingled in the breeze. It was early, too early for tourists, too early for laughter. Only the rhythm of the tide kept him company. He had moved to this small coastal town a year ago, chasing something he couldn't quite name. Maybe peace, maybe forgiveness, maybe both. Every morning, he watched the waves roll in, cresting and collapsing like breathing. He had started calling them the tides that remember, as if each wave carried whispers of things long gone, the things he once tried to forget. The bell above the cafe door rang. Eli looked up. A man stepped inside, shaking raindrops from his dark hair. He wore a faded denim jacket, travel-worn shoes, and a small camera slung around his neck. His eyes, a deep, quiet blue, scanned the room before settling on the counter. "Coffee, please. Anything warm," he said softly to the owner. His voice carried a hint of fatigue, like someone who'd been walking for miles. When he turned, his gaze caught Eli's for a moment. Something flickered, recognition, or maybe just a shared silence between two strangers who both came to the sea to forget. He sat 2 tables away. Eli tried to focus on his book but failed. His eyes kept drifting toward the stranger, who was now staring at the rain outside, camera resting on his lap. After a while, Eli spoke, not to start a conversation, but because the air felt too heavy to leave in silence. "Storm's coming," he said. The stranger turned. His lips curved into a faint smile. "Maybe that's why it feels so alive." Eli looked down at his cup, the reflection of gray clouds trembling in it. "You're not from around here." "No," the man replied. "I used to come here when I was a kid. My parents had a summer house up the hill. Haven't been back since." He paused, then added quietly, "Guess I just missed the sound of the waves." Eli nodded. They never changed much. Always the same sound, same pull. "That's the comforting part, isn't it?" the stranger said. "That some things stay." There was something in the way he said it, as if he wasn't talking about the sea at all. Eli didn't ask. He understood that kind of ache too well. When the rain grew heavier, the stranger stood, paid, and turned toward him. "Thanks for the company," he said simply. "I'm Noah." "Eli," he replied. Noah's eyes softened. "Maybe I'll see you around, Eli." And then he was gone, out into the rain, camera tucked close, his figure swallowed by the mist. That night, Eli couldn't sleep. The sea outside his window was restless, crashing louder than usual, as if echoing something inside him. He turned on the lamp, picked up his sketchbook, and began to draw lines of waves, the curve of the shore, the faint outline of a stranger with a camera. The next morning, Noah returned. He came in drenched again, grinning sheepishly. "Guess I didn't learn my lesson from yesterday." Eli chuckled softly, surprising himself. "You don't seem like the type who stays indoors when it rains." Noah shrugged. "You get better photos in bad weather." The light tells the truth when it's gray. That was how it began. Small talk between sips of coffee and the rhythm of rain. Over the next few days, Noah kept showing up. Sometimes he'd take pictures of the sea, sometimes of the cafe's old wooden walls, and sometimes, Eli noticed, of him, though Noah pretended otherwise. They fell into a quiet rhythm. Eli would open the cafe early. Noah would stop by after his morning walk. They'd sit near the window, sometimes talking, sometimes just watching the tide. It was the kind of silence that felt full, not empty. One evening, as the sun sank low and turned the waves gold, Noah handed Eli a photo. It was a picture of the sea, but in the corner, blurry, almost hidden, was Eli, looking out at the horizon. "I didn't mean to take it," Noah said, his tone hesitant. "But when I looked at it later, it just felt like you." Eli stared at the photo. His throat tightened. "Like me? Like someone waiting for something," Noah said softly. "But not sure what." Eli looked up. The wind brushed past them, carrying the scent of rain again. He didn't know what to say, so he didn't. But when Noah smiled, something inside him shifted, just a little, like the tide turning. That night, they walked together along the beach. The sand was cool beneath their feet, the sea humming quietly beside them. "Why did you come back?" Eli finally asked. Noah was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "My mother passed away last month. She always said I should come back to the sea when I felt lost. I thought she meant it metaphorically." He laughed softly, though his eyes glistened. Turns out she meant it literally. Eli's steps slowed. "I'm sorry." Noah shook his head. "It's okay. The sea helps. It listens." They stood in silence, the moonlight scattering silver across the waves. Eli wanted to say something, anything, but all he did was reach out, lightly brushing his hand against Noah's. It was accidental, or maybe it wasn't. Neither of them pulled away. As the days passed, their connection deepened, not through grand gestures, but through the quiet things. The way Noah always brought an extra muffin, by accident. The way Eli started brewing a second cup of coffee without being asked. The way they shared glances that said more than words could. But behind the warmth, there was a question neither asked. What happens when Noah leaves? The sea, after all, keeps no one. The rain didn't stop for 3 days. The sea was a dull gray mirror, stretching endlessly under the low clouds. Tourists stayed away, boats remained moored, and Eli's cafe grew quieter with each passing hour. But Noah kept coming. Sometimes he'd sit by the window, camera idle, just listening to the storm. Other times he'd help Eli close early, drying chairs, and wiping windows fogged by salt air. They didn't speak much, but the silence between them grew softer, like the hush between waves. On the third night, the power went out. Eli lit a few candles, and the cafe filled with a faint golden glow. The storm outside was loud, but inside it felt like time had slowed. Noah was leaning against the counter, watching the flame dance. "You know," Noah said quietly, "when I was little, I used to be afraid of thunder. My mom would tell me that thunder was just the sea clapping for the rain." Eli smiled faintly. "That's oddly comforting." "Yeah," Noah murmured. "She had a way of making fear sound poetic." They fell into silence again, but this time, it wasn't empty. The flickering candlelight painted warmth across Noah's face, and Eli caught himself staring, not at the beauty of the scene, but at the peace he felt being part of it. "You miss her," Eli said softly. Noah nodded. "Every day." There was a long pause before Eli whispered, "I lost someone too. A few years ago. Not to death, but it felt like it." Noah's eyes lifted to meet his. "Someone you loved." Eli's throat tightened. "Someone I thought I'd love forever." Turns out forever doesn't always last that long. Noah didn't say anything. He didn't have to. The way his hand brushed lightly over Eli's, tentative, wordless, said enough. The storm raged on outside, but inside that small cafe, something fragile began to take root. The next morning, the storm passed. The world outside looked washed clean, the air crisp, the sand smooth, the ocean sparkling with early sunlight. Noah arrived later than usual, hair still damp, a camera strap slung loosely around his neck. "I took a walk," he said. "The sea looked new today." Eli handed him a cup of coffee. "New?" "Yeah," Noah said with a half smile. "Like it forgave something." Eli leaned against the counter, watching him. "Do you believe the sea forgives?" "I think it remembers everything," Noah replied, "but it doesn't hold it against you." That line stayed with Eli long after Noah left. In the following days, life settled into a rhythm that felt almost sacred. They spent mornings at the cafe, afternoons walking the beach, evenings on the old pier watching the sun disappear. Noah would photograph the same view over and over, the curve of the shoreline, the glimmer of waves at dusk, claiming that light never looks the same twice. Sometimes he'd photograph Eli too, though always quietly, like he didn't want to disturb something delicate. And sometimes Eli would draw Noah, sketching him as he leaned against the rail, wind tugging at his hair, his eyes lost somewhere in the horizon. They were both capturing the same thing, the ache of something beautiful you know you can't keep forever. One night, Noah found Eli sitting on the beach alone, sketchbook open on his lap. "You draw even when it's dark?" he asked. Eli smiled faintly. "It's quieter at night. The sea listens better." Noah sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders brushed. The sky was deep blue, scattered with stars. The moon hung low over the waves. After a while, Noah asked softly, "Eli, what brought you here? To this town, I mean?" Eli hesitated. "A mistake," he said finally. "Or maybe a lesson. I used to work as an architect. Big city, good money, good noise. I thought I had everything. But one day, I realized I hadn't felt anything in years. So I left. I came here to learn how to feel again." Noah looked at him, really looked. "And have you?" Eli's lips curved slightly. "Some days. Mostly when you're around." Noah froze, breath catching. His laugh came out soft, almost shy. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because," Noah said, his voice quiet, "I'll believe them." Eli turned to him then, not with words, but with a look that held everything he hadn't said in months. The tide sighed behind them, gentle and endless. Noah reached out, brushing a strand of hair from Eli's forehead. His fingers lingered there, trembling slightly. Neither moved closer. Neither pulled away. It wasn't a kiss. It was something deeper, a silence that said, "I see you. I know you. I'm still here." The next day, Noah showed Eli a new series of photos he'd taken. The sea, the cafe, the empty pier, and finally, Eli standing in the doorway, sunlight cutting through the mist around him. "I want to make this into a book," Noah said. "Not about me, or even the town. About moments that stay." Eli looked at the photographs quietly. "You think they'll mean something to people?" "They already mean something to me," Noah replied. And before Eli could respond, Noah added softly, "You do too." It was a simple sentence, but it landed like a wave, gentle yet unignorable. That evening, a letter arrived for Noah. Eli found him standing outside, reading it under the fading light. When Noah looked up, his expression was different, distant, uncertain. "It's from a gallery," he said. "In the city. They want me to exhibit my work next month." "That's great," Eli said, trying to sound happy. "You should go." "Yeah," Noah said, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "I should." Eli felt something tighten in his chest, the kind of ache that comes when you know something beautiful is about to end. He turned toward the sea, pretending to watch the sunset. "You'll leave soon, then?" "Maybe," Noah murmured. "But leaving doesn't always mean gone." Eli didn't answer. The wind was picking up again, carrying the scent of salt and something like goodbye. That night, Noah didn't show up at the cafe. The next morning, Eli found a photograph slipped under the door, a picture of the sea at dawn, soft pink light spreading across the water. On the back, in Noah's handwriting, were 4 words. Wait for the tide. The sea changed after Noah left. Eli noticed it in small ways. The waves seemed quieter, the mornings colder, the cafe emptier. He tried to keep busy, baking, sketching, pretending the routine was enough. But every time the doorbell rang, his heart still leapt, foolishly, as if Noah might walk in again with salt in his hair and that tired smile on his face. He didn't. Weeks passed. The letter stayed pinned on the cafe's bulletin board, the one Noah left with those 4 words. Wait for the tide. Sometimes, Eli hated that note. Sometimes, he loved it so much it hurt. One morning, after another sleepless night, Eli closed the cafe early and walked to the shore. The sky was pale and quiet. The water stretched out endlessly, smooth as glass. He sat down in the sand, knees drawn to his chest, and whispered, I've been waiting. The sea answered with a small wave brushing against his shoes. For the first time, he didn't pull away. He remembered Noah's words. The sea remembers everything, but it doesn't hold it against you. Maybe that was true for people too. Maybe waiting wasn't about someone returning. Maybe it was about learning to stay open even when they didn't. Still, he missed him. He missed the quiet laughter, the shared silences, the feeling of being seen. A few days later, a package arrived, postmarked from the city. Inside was a thin book, bound in soft blue cloth. On the cover, in Noah's handwriting, The Tides Remember. Eli's hands trembled as he opened it. Page after page of photographs. The cafe, the coastline, the old pier, the rainy mornings, all moments they'd shared. And on the last page, a photograph of Eli standing by the window, sunlight spilling across his face. Below it, a single line. Some people become places. You are home. Eli pressed a hand to his mouth, eyes stinging. That night, he closed the cafe early again. The tide was high, the air cool, and the stars shimmered faintly above the water. He walked barefoot along the shore, the waves brushing his ankles, the sound of the sea echoing like memory. He didn't expect to see anyone. But then, a silhouette by the pier. Someone standing there, camera in hand, facing the horizon. Eli's breath caught. He walked faster, heart pounding. The closer he got, the clearer the figure became, that familiar shape, that jacket, that way of standing, as if listening to the ocean's whisper. Noah? The man turned. The same tired smile. The same blue eyes. The same warmth that felt like sunlight breaking through gray. Hey, Noah said softly. I came back. Eli stood there for a long moment, unable to move. When? He managed. Just now. The exhibition ended last night. I took the first train this morning. Noah's smile faltered slightly. I wasn't sure you'd still be here. Eli laughed quietly, a small sound full of disbelief and relief. You told me to wait for the tide. Noah's eyes softened. And you did. They stood in silence as the waves curled around their feet, the sea humming quietly between them. Later, they sat on the sand, watching the horizon shift from dusk to night. Eli leaned his head against Noah's shoulder. Noah's hand found his, fingers cold but steady. I thought you'd forget, Eli said. Noah shook his head. I tried. The city was loud, bright, but it didn't sound right. Every photo felt empty until I looked at them and realized all of them were about you. Eli smiled faintly. You make everything sound poetic. That's just the truth, Noah said. You make things quiet again. For a while, they said nothing. Just listened. The sea, the wind, the soft thud of waves folding into shore. Then Eli whispered, Do you think it's possible to start over? Not like before. Just better. Noah looked at him, eyes reflecting the moonlight. With you. Always. And this time, when their hands met, they didn't let go. Days turned to weeks. Life settled again, not back to what it was, but to something gentler, more certain. Noah moved into the small room above the cafe. His camera found new stories, morning light on coffee cups. Laughter caught midair, the way Eli's hands moved when he painted. The cafe grew busier, but they didn't mind. The sound of conversation mixed with the sea breeze, and every evening they'd close early just to sit by the shore, letting the tide wash over their feet. Sometimes they talked about the past. Sometimes they didn't need to. The silence between them had changed. No longer the space between strangers, but the comfort of knowing someone would always stay. One evening, months later, Noah handed Eli a new photograph. It was the sea again, calm, endless, but this time, two sets of footprints trailed along the sand, side by side. "Do you think the tides remember us?" Noah asked. Eli smiled, brushing his thumb over the picture. "Maybe. But even if they don't, I will." Noah leaned closer, whispering, "That's enough." And as the sky blushed gold and the waves sighed softly against the shore, Eli thought, maybe love wasn't about forever, or promises, or even waiting. Maybe it was about the quiet moments that kept you breathing, and the people who stayed long enough to listen. That night, before closing the cafe, Eli wrote a small note and pinned it beside Noah's old message. In the same handwriting, beneath, "Wait for the tide," he added. It came back. And outside, the sea whispered against the shore. A soft, endless sound, like remembering.